radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio. For the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. 91 days into the new year, only 285 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Here we go. Tonight, very special guest live from New York City. It's Mitch Horowitz. Get ready for that. Live from Manhattan. Tomorrow night, Andrea Perrin joins us. Andrea joins us for the first time. Her life, her family is the movie, the franchise, The Conjuring. Okay, there's more to this story, and we're going to discuss all of it exclusively right here tomorrow night on Fade to Black. Thursday night is another Fader night, and on Thursday we're going to be giving away four Fade to Black memberships to those in need and who are staying at home right now. So we're going to do that four times this month. I love saying the number 4. The number 4 is cool. You know what's even cooler? 14. 14. That's right. AJ Foyt's number on his Coyote Foyt Ford. That's right, his Indy car, AJ Foyt. Houston, Texas. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so that's our week here on Fade to Black. All right, and later on tonight, we will have time to take some of your calls, so we will also do that as well. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can start your social media experience with Fade to Black right there at JChurchRadio. We use TweetDeck here. We use TweetDeck so we can interface with all of you live during the show. And we have all of the other chat rooms that are open. We have hashtag F2B, the sandbox right here on Twitter. It's right in front of me. And you can go and look, hashtag F2B, and see the crazy gifts that all of these Fadernauts post at the beginning of the show. Thank you. It is nothing but dancing aliens, and it's pretty cool. So we got all of that going on. Hashtag F2B, the sandbox. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. Any questions that you have for myself or tonight's guest, Mitch Horowitz, post it in hashtag F2BQ. All right? All right. See, Mark Tarana just posted a picture of Spinal Tap Nigel Tufnell in hashtag F2BQ. That's a big no-no. He's only getting away with it because it's Nigel Tufnell, and he knows that. We have 2 chat rooms open, one over at Spreaker, one over at KGRA The Planet. Of course, we've got everything going on over in YouTube. Hello, everybody that is in the chat room over there. Twitter, of course, and right there on Facebook, as well as TalkStream Live and KGRA and iHeartRadio and TuneIn, and who else am I leaving out? I'm leaving something out, but I digress. So welcome to everybody listening all around the world. All right, any questions or comments, you can also email me throughout the show, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Is that the count? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That made me laugh. Yep. 4 is it. 4. How do I say 14 with my fingers? 14. I don't know. All right. Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I want to, my little public service announcement right now is a simple one. You need to keep your immune system in check. You need to do what I do. I do vitamin D3, I do B12, I do moringa drops, I do pine bark drops, I do Get the Tea, super strength tea, I do a leaf extract, which oregano leaf extract. I do that in drop forms. I take a multivitamin every single day, a custom-made multivitamin. I do that every single day. My immune system is in check. You need to make sure yours is in check. Just go to getthetea.com. It's simple. Go to getthetea.com. Ronnie McMullen has been part of this show for years, and he is the reason why myself and my family are feeling pretty good about our preparation. And we did it for our health, and now today, look at us. So go get your immune system in check and click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. The good news, use the promo code FADER, FADER. When you check out, all you got to do, anything over $50 is going to get you free shipping. Go to their specials page. He's got great discounts and packages and things ready to go for you, for the Fadernauts. Please visit getthetea.com. I need all of you to be healthy. We are going through a trippy, crazy crisis right now. And all of it is centered around your immune system. And that's what everybody is talking about. All the medical advice that you can hear and find everywhere is about making sure your immune system is in check. Go to getthetea.com. All right, do it now. Let's get to the breaking news. Mark Anthony Spell, the pastor of Life Tabernacle Church in central Louisiana, says that the doors to his church will remain open on Sunday, despite charges this past Tuesday, which was technically, I thought it was yesterday. I guess they're saying it was this morning. For violating the governor's executive order to stay at home. There you go. He's gonna defy everything. Are they gonna arrest him again? What are they gonna do? California is about to release 3,500 inmates early as coronavirus spreads inside its prison system. The LA County, LA City supervisors today removed Sheriff Alex Villanueva as the head of emergency operations during the coronavirus pandemic, and they are screaming at each other right now here in Los Angeles. But Sheriff Villanueva has been removed. CNN anchor Chris Cuomo has been diagnosed with coronavirus, and he will continue working from home in his basement bunker studio. The stock market fell today, down 410 to finish at 21,917. And the latest numbers, here we go. Today in the United States, the number of coronavirus cases jumped to 188,267. And those are active with 24,482 added overnight. 24,482 added overnight. 3,882 deaths nationwide, with 741 reported in the last 24 hours. Let's get to the good news. And I've got a lot of it today. All right, are you ready for some good news? A plane from Russia loaded with personal protective equipment, otherwise known as PPEs, and other supplies to assist in response to COVID-19 is expected to arrive in the United States tomorrow. And you know, there are so many people in Russia right now upset about this, saying that, hey, you can't do that. You can't. You know what? I think it's cool, and I'm glad that it's happening. Over the next few weeks, Governor Brian Kemp will deploy the National Guard to help long-term care facilities, assisted living facilities, and nursing homes in Georgia with COVID-19 cases, and that is some great news. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper said in a press conference this afternoon that he signed an executive order to prohibit utility companies from shutting off services for people unable to pay for gas, electric, water, and wastewater. How do you like that? Great news. Canada is spending $1.4 billion for medical supplies. In response to everything, more good news. Small business owners can apply for loans from the $349 billion payroll protection program starting this Friday. Chicago is now offering $100 million in low-interest loans to support their small businesses. There will be approximately 500 more medical technicians and paramedics coming to New York City from across the United States. That is some great news. The Billie Jean King Tennis Center in Queens, New York, that's right, will soon house 350 hospital beds. Now, the universe runs with every positive, there's a negative. And that's just the way that it is. And here's the bad news. The Nevada governor is asking people entering the state to self-quarantine for 14 days, and that is everybody. New York's MTA says ridership is down 90%. The United States Army has begun calling up members of the Individual Ready Reserve on a voluntary basis in order to help combat the spread of the coronavirus. Almost 28% of coronavirus cases in Minnesota are healthcare workers. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has issued a statewide stay-at-home order. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards is extending the state's stay-at-home order until April 30th. Ann Taylor, Gap, JCPenney, Macy's, Kohl's, Loft, and Neiman Marcus are all furloughing thousands and thousands of employees amid their store closures across the country. California unemployment climbs to 1.6 million people today. Portuguese airline TAP, otherwise known as Air Portugal, has temporarily laid off 9,000 employees, about roughly 90% of its entire workforce. At least 380 New Jersey police officials have tested positive for coronavirus, and Hawaii has just reported its first death from coronavirus, leaving Wyoming as the only U.S. state without a fatality. All right, so bad news isn't as bad. It isn't as long as it has been. Okay, so I think most of the bad news is out of the way. All right. Now, yesterday, Monday, March 30th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, these were the latest coronavirus numbers. Coronavirus cases around the world, 784,832. It was up over 250,000 cases over a 4-day period since we broadcasted last Thursday. Deaths yesterday, 37,790, up over 13.5 thousand over 4 days. Recoveries, 165,387, up almost 20,000 over that same 4-day period. The numbers today, March 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Coronavirus cases worldwide are now 857,837, up 70,000 in the past 24 hours. Deaths, 42,129, up 5,000 in 24 hours. Recoveries, 177,141, up 11,000 in 24 hours. There are currently, as of today, 638,567 active cases worldwide, and 32,297, 5%, are considered serious or critical. 606,000 of those 606,270 are considered mild conditions, and that is 95% of that number. Those are the real coronavirus numbers. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, one of my favorites. Ewan McGregor today is only 49 years old. Christopher Walken today, one of our greatest actors ever in the history of cinema, today is 77 years old. Shirley Jones, that's right, Mama Partridge, Shirley Partridge on the Partridge Family, today is 86 years old. Guitar god Angus Young today is 65 years old. Is Angus Young the greatest export out of Australia in the history of everything Australia? I'm saying it right now. Is Angus Young the greatest export out of Australia? I just got to say he may be. It ain't Holden, that's for sure. Bad Company guitarist Mick Ralphs, one of my favorite guitarists of all time, today, 76 years old. Also today, another great guitar player. I'm going to say it. I'm going to go on the record. Warrant's Eric Turner today is 56 years old. Eric literally used to live across the street from me on Hollywood Boulevard. Hollywood and Fulton, right there on the corner. I lived in the Martinique, and he lived in, what was the name of his building? Anyway, literally across the street from my old place in Hollywood. Happy birthday, Eric, 56 years old today. And on this day in history, OTD, 1999, the day the world changed. The Matrix is released in theaters. And I think it's safe to say that things haven't been the same since, have they? Fader fact. In 1971, are you ready? The Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI broke into an FBI office by writing a note that said, and I'm quoting, "Please don't lock this door tonight," end quote. They put that note plastered on the front door of the FBI office. And guess what? The FBI left the door unlocked. It actually worked. And they broke in, stole several files and evidence of J. Edgar Hoover's criminal program of secret spying. And that is your Fader fact. Check it out. Happened in 1971. Go, look it up. That actually happened. Makes you wonder if it would work today, right? Leave this computer on. Do not log out. All right, let me hit this River Moon Coffee. By the way, River Moon Coffee is now available on Amazon. That's right. River Moon's got their own Amazon store. And right now, Fade or Not, if you are an Amazon Prime member, you're going to go get yourself some free shipping on Fade to Black Blend right now over on Amazon. Rita, get that up. Get the new Amazon store up for River Moon Coffee. Pop it up there on Twitter. I'll retweet it. rivermooncoffee.com. Fade to Black Blend. F2B Blend. That's the promo code. That's what you use. 15% off of your order today. I wonder if that works on Amazon. So you can not only get free shipping, can you get 50% off with F2B Blend? at Amazon? I'm just asking. Juanita and Jeff, I know you're listening right now. Pop something up in Twitter. Let the Fadernauts know what time it is. All right, entropy. Let's talk about entropy. Let's talk about entropy. Can we talk? Let's talk about entropy. I talk about it all the time. I do. And this morning I was speaking with our daughter, Nicole, checking in to see how she's doing. And she said something strange to me today. And I want you to know that Nicole is 25 years old. A real millennial, right? Right there, 25 years old. And today she said, I'm quoting here, I'm paraphrasing, but this is the essence of what she said in like 2 sentences. She said, Dad, my generation is never going to forget what we are going through right now. We grew up with all of these advancements in technology only to have everything just fall apart. And it took the coronavirus pandemic to do it. And I just thought, man, I raised her right. And I was just stunned. And I was so happy to hear these words come from her. And that's when I brought up entropy. And I explained it to her. And I gave her the raw definition. I gave her a couple of different definitions of entropy. She goes, okay, all right, I'm going to go check that out. And she agreed that that is exactly what is going on right now. She also said that the world will never be the same after all of this is over. This is our conversation today. She went on to say that this is all that her and her friends are talking about right now. The world falling apart in front of them, and there's nothing that they can do about it. And I said to her, now tonight we've got Mitch Horowitz on the show, but I said, a perfect example, and I was trying to explain to her, entropy and and I said, look, you take a seed for a flower and you put it in the ground. That seed at that point is perfect, right? It's just a seed. It's not complex. It's not grown yet. It's just a seed. It's simple. You put it in the ground, boom, it grows. Entropy starts at that moment. Entropy, the seed, grows up and then, blooms. And then later it's a beautiful flower. And now it's really complex in the petals and the symmetry and the geometry. And it's gorgeous. And then it dies, falls apart. That's entropy. She goes, I get it. And I said, another example, Nicole, is New York City. I said, New York started out at one point as a tiny, peaceful little island, right? Some trees, some flowers, the seasons coming and going, and it's just this nice little island. And then we come along, right? So at one point, even before man, let's just go back, just think about it, right? Nothing going on there. Animals, some deer, right? Squirrels, perfect little island. We come along and throw some trinkets, right, at the indigenous American Indians, the Indian population that was living there at the time. We buy the island. And now today, it has nearly 10 million people packed in just what seems like a few square miles. The complexity of what New York City is today, and if you think about it, the infrastructure, right? People packed into these tall buildings, living this existence. Every single apartment, every single office, every single desk, everything, everywhere. The electricity, the plumbing, right? The infrastructure, the internet, everything that is pumped in, the complexity underneath all of those buildings, a subway system, the sewage system. Everything that is about New York right now is as complex as a city can possibly be. And when It has gone too far. Think about it. It's going to come unglued. And when it comes unglued, it's going to come unglued in a big way. There's too much that can go wrong in New York City. And we were talking about this today, why New York would be the epicenter of coronavirus. Well, it's the perfect Petri dish for it. And she said, well, what's the difference between New York and L.A.? And I said, well, first off, a stay-at-home order in L.A., people do it in Los Angeles anyway. People in Los Angeles aren't concerned about other people. They have their house, they have their apartment, they go home, they stay there. They don't care about their neighbors. They don't care about the people across the street. They got their own little world, and they stay there. It's their cocoon, and it's spread out. We have 20, 30 million people here, but it's spread out. So a stay-at-home order here in L.A., a stay-at-home order in New York is you're compressing 9 million people into a sardine can. It's going to go wrong. Out here in L.A., its containment is much, much easier, or anywhere else around the United States. New York is its own perfect situation for entropy and the coronavirus and a pandemic like this to wreak havoc on the city. And I feel for the people of New York City. I feel for the hospitals and the fire department and the police department and everybody that's on the front lines and that are dealing with this right now because it's happening at such a huge scale. I've said it so many times on this show. New York is my favorite city on planet Earth. Los Angeles is not. New York, you go to that city, you land at JFK, you ride the cab in, and you get into Manhattan, and you step out of the cab, and your foot hits the ground, and the electricity shoots up your leg. There is nothing like New York City. There's nothing like it. The amount of people that not only lived together and learned to live together over the years, and the melting pot, and it's the food, it's the theaters, it's the museum, it's the infrastructure, it's everything about New York is just pure magic, and I love that city. It's too many people concentrated in a very small spot. And right now, all of our thoughts and prayers, everything needs to be sent New York City's way. There you go. All right. And that is the definition of entropy. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, live from Manhattan, live from New York, Mitch Horowitz. And his new article, which I posted up today, which is absolutely incredible. If you haven't read it, it's over on Medium. It is called Reclaiming the Damned. You can just Google it. We've got the links up in Twitter and also over on Facebook and our other social media places. Reclaiming the Damned, Mitch Horowitz on Medium. I'll be right back after this short break with our guest, Mitch Horowitz. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe.
Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest live from New York City in Manhattan, Mitch Horowitz. Tonight, we're going to discuss his most recent article. It's an amazing read. We posted it all around social media earlier today. Hopefully, everybody checked it out. You will certainly do it after tonight's show. And the article, he describes it as an umbrella theory of anomalies. It's called Reclaiming the Damned. It was just published on Medium. Mitch, of course, is a writer in residence at the New York City Public Library. He wrote this article in a research room from the public library, and I did take note of that earlier today. And he is a lecturer in residence at the University of Philosophical Research in Los Angeles, and he is the PEN Award-winning author of books including Occult America, One Simple Idea, How Positive Thinking Reshaped Modern Life, and The Miracle Club, How Thoughts Become Reality. Mr. Horowitz has written on everything from The War on Witches to The Secret Life of Ronald Reagan for the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, Salon, Time.com, and Politico. The Washington Post says Mitch treats esoteric ideas and movements with an even-handed intellectual seriousness that is too often lost in today's raised voice discussions. Mitch has discussed alternative spirituality on CBS Sunday Morning, Dateline NBC, NPR's All Things Considered, CNN, and throughout national media. The Chinese government has censored his work. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Mitch Horowitz. Mitch, my man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be here. Thank you, man.
And, Mitch, okay, welcome back to the program. And I wish we were in different days and we can have one of those fun conversations. And we're going to do that eventually tonight. But you're right there, man. And in Manhattan, and New York is certainly my favorite city in the world. I say it all the time. I live in Los Angeles, and and I'll drop that dime anywhere in Los Angeles. Manhattan's my favorite city. You're right there. What's it like? What part of Manhattan are you in, and what do you see when you look out the windows?
Well, I'm on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and frankly, I have been quarantined in my apartment for over 2 weeks. I haven't left these rooms for more than 2 weeks. So when you ask, what do I see when I look out the windows, that's really my only three-dimensional experience of the outer world. I have coronavirus. I have a mild case of it, thankfully, and I consider myself very lucky. There are a lot of people who have it a lot worse than I do. One thing I can say is when you get this thing, even if it's mild, it does linger. So you got to be really careful, because I thought I was going to be back up and running inside 2 weeks, and definitely looking at least 3, maybe more, but at least 3. So this virus does linger when you get it.
What's it like? One of the things that people experience when they go to New York City from, elsewhere, you arrive there and you check into your hotel, and the one thing that is so wonderful about New York is the friggin' noise, right?
Oh, yeah, it's wild.
The city is alive, right? It's cars, it's horns, it's people, it's traffic, it's garbage trucks, it's deliveries, all hours of the day and night. And at night, the city restocks itself. It comes back to life with the things that you don't see during the day. It's just an incredible, vibrant existence there. But I can only imagine it's the opposite for you these days. The life and the noise, is it gone?
Oh yeah, it's very much gone. I mean, you do hear that noise, that cacophony of trucks and sirens and traffic and people milling about at all hours, and that is gone. That is gone. Even in the building in which I live, which is a 5-story walk-up, I think that some of my neighbors certainly have skipped town. I haven't. I'm here, for the count, but the noise, which is this kind of symphonic, sometimes deafening quality of life in New York, has really receded. It's a quiet town. It's a different town. It's changed.
And what do you think? Because not only are you a resident there, but you can look at you and see New York on your face, right? That's just who you are, and it's enduring. Yeah. But how will this change the city moving forward?
Well, clearly there's a lot of people suffering economically. Restaurants are the life's blood of New York City economically. Bars, restaurants, other gathering places. Obviously, these places are all closed indefinitely, and that just wreaks economic havoc on people's lives. And of course, then there are the healthcare workers, the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, the first responders. They are doing incredible work. And there's people we forget about, like prison guards. These people have to go to work every single day in cramped conditions where they feel at risk. And my heart really goes out to these people. One of the things I'm really wishing for is to get better. Hopefully I'll have immunity when I'm over this thing, and I want to go out into the world and try to do something positive. I've been trying to do things from this quarantine situation. I've volunteered to give healthcare workers free tarot card readings, for example. That might sound unconventional, but it's something that I'm capable of giving. So if among your listeners there are any doctors, nurses, paramedics, healthcare folk, you can email me. You can find my email on my website. I'll give you a free remote 3-card tarot reading. It's kind of an unusual contribution, but it's what I'm capable of doing.
Sure.
And when I'm better, and I hope I have immunity, I intend to be out there in the world, hopefully doing something concrete, hopefully contributing in some way. Because I tell you, the people who are on the front lines, they're just heroes. And look, this also includes truck drivers. It includes folk who work in warehouses. These people are keeping our economy going right now, and they are doing it at risk to themselves.
One of the things that, and you don't know about this until you go to New York, but one of the greatest things about the city is at 3 a.m. you can go down and find a 24-hour salad bar, right?
For real, yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
And that all of that has stopped, right?
To a very great extent. I mean, there certainly are places that are still open, that are still hanging in. You've got restaurants delivering. You've got delis that are open. But that side of New York, to a very great extent, has gone dim, gone dim.
Wow.
And, yeah. And, there's a lot of people who are wondering about what the future is. They have leases on stores and restaurants and bars and all kinds of places. They employ people, and the future is uncertain for them. So, we really need to pull together through this whole thing with a lot of solidarity as one society, really focused, because the economic battle is going to be one that we're in for some time to come.
Now, you have written not only some amazing books, and you have spoken publicly so much about our community, spirituality, of course, the occult, and things like this. But there's another part to this story, which is right now where you've got 199 countries around the world affected by this, economies. There isn't any place on this planet right now that hasn't been touched by this. But the reaction of the world has been one of coming together, of putting differences aside and rising up to appreciate our brothers and sisters. And I'm very impressed with that. Are you surprised by that there isn't anger and it could have gone the other way, but it hasn't, has it?
Well, one of the things I have been glad to see is that people have not been engaging, by and large, in binge buying or in panic buying. It was funny, a few weeks ago, I was on Coast to Coast, and we were talking about the pandemic just at the very beginning. This wave was just starting to build. And one of the things I was concerned about at that time was that people were going to engage in panic buying and create a sense of scarcity, even if there really wasn't one. And I think, although obviously there's always going to be some bad actors, by and large, people have not been hoarding. They have not been engaging in panic buying or in unconscionable price gouging. There are some instances of it, and I don't want to say there aren't, but by and large, that hasn't been going on. So I'm pleased to see those developments.
And what do you think is ultimately the end game here? Is this a point for this planet to check ourselves? And, maybe we've done the wrong thing for long enough. The party is over and there's other things on this planet that are more important than the values that we have established over the last 100 years.
That's a great question. There's no way that we're going to come out of this unchanged. Certainly, we're realizing, and there were some people who had this foresight going back decades, that with globalism comes a vulnerability to viruses, to environmental crises. Nothing is local anymore. Nothing is local anymore, whether we like it or not. And there may be different policies that we need to put in place to deal with that, but that's a fact of life. And my wish is that we will come out of this with a sense of shared stake in preparing for potential catastrophes, a shared stake in building up our public healthcare system so that we never have a situation where we don't have adequate supplies, masks, or testing for a virus or some sort of illness that we have to track and contain. And I think clearly we got to do something about our healthcare system. We can't have people worried here in the United States about paying bills related to emergency room visits, related to chronic health conditions. The insurance companies in this country, as far as I'm concerned, are organized crime with a refrigerator magnet. And they have set themselves in opposition to public health by setting up a model where they have to deny a certain number of claims, legitimate claims, to maintain the profitability that they have established as their benchmark. That has to change. We need a change, and a quick one, in public health policy. So I'm hoping those are things that are going to come out of this crisis.
And there's another part of this too as well. And I mentioned this last night on the show. When we talk about some of these different ideas out there, is global warming real? Is it natural? Is it man-made? Did we cause it? Well, we don't know the answers. There's too many people debating this issue that are certainly clouding it and confusing everyone. But with this reset that we have done, and I'm talking about no boats are cruising, right? There's no cars on the road. The factories are shut down. The pollution in India and China, and it's certainly here in the United States, that is constant. All of that has ended. Isn't this a weird situation that maybe Gaia herself has forced a reset, and maybe it could change this global warming situation where we have toned things down for a few months that we would have never done before?
Well, it's interesting. Everything is always a polarity. Whenever we're faced with a crisis, we can go in the direction of something constructive and helpful, as you're describing, or we can go in the direction of growing smaller and growing more isolated and growing more deeply into denial. Obviously, we're kind of on a precipice here, and we can go one way or another. But it would seem to me that if we're thinking as a human community, if we're thinking, we realize that we are indelibly connected in terms of environment, in terms of health, in terms of not only financial transactions, but every form of biological human transaction. And we're going to have to adjust our society to deal with that. We're going to have to be prepared for that. There's no environmental division today at this moment between the haves and the have-nots. The haves can, of course, flee New York City and maybe go to their houses in the Hamptons, or if you're in Europe, go to one of your beachfront villas. Yeah, that may be possible for the time being, but it's a pretty thin escape. It's a pretty thin escape. And I think there's no difference right now, health-wise, between the haves and the have-nots in terms of the global spread of this pandemic. And we as a human community have got to deal with that, have got to come to terms with that, and we've got to start thinking about more rational forms of organization. In our country, I think we have to more rationally organize healthcare, and we'll see if that occurs in the immediate years ahead.
Do you think it's possible that we can go back to having our amnesia? Right,
it's a good question.
Yeah, and just just fall back right into our old ways, and once everything is better, and Wall Street starts hopping again, the next thing you know, we're right back on, getting the truck back onto the road and driving.
Well, I suspect there will be some permanent changes. I think back to World War I, for example. Here you have this horrific, pointless war that dragged on for years and years and years. More people's lives were claimed by the influenza epidemic than on the battlefield, and people were profoundly affected by it. There were changes in societies, particularly in Europe, but in other parts of the world. I think there are going to be some changes coming out of this. Now, here in New York City, Amazon maintains a warehouse, and some of the workers went on a one-day walkout because they felt they weren't being given adequate health protections. Well, today, Amazon fired one of the workers there who was an organizer of this walkout, and they claimed that it was because he violated social distancing rules. That was obviously just a pretext for firing the guy. And I look at that and I say to myself, here's a very vulnerable person who tried to do something positive, in my estimation. He got fired for it. Will Amazon be held accountable? If companies like Amazon and some of these other global companies are held accountable, we'll start to see changes. If we don't hold them accountable, that's when the amnesia is going to start to set in, as you're describing, and we're just going to go back to business as usual. Although, will there be a business as usual to go back to? That's an open question itself.
And I want to actually, this is a good segue over to your article that was just published on Medium called Reclaiming the Damned. And the title of the article, and you need to go back into the historical side of this, which you do really well to explain the title of it. The title is nearly shocking, right? It's really well done. It's like, where's Mitch going with this?
Right.
But you point out something at the beginning of the article, which is in the intellectual circles in Manhattan, and you specifically bring up the Guggenheim.
Yeah.
And the intellectual circles there, which includes things like the New York Times and society in New York that is very well read, and they consider themselves realist, that they are in front of the news and they know what's going on. And you point this out. And then you bring up this part of society in New York, now talking about, of all things, UFOs.
Right on.
Right?
Right on.
And so now it how is that possible? Right? Now, you explain how it happened in the article.
Yeah.
But let's actually start there. Were you surprised? Obviously, you were, because you wrote the article. But to have this happen to you, a citizen of New York and part of this culture, how surprised were you as this started to unfold?
I was quite surprised. And when paradigm shifts occur, they occur quickly. There's a lot that underlies these shifts. There's a lot that underscores these shifts. You and your listeners have certainly been involved for many, many, many years in investigating and bringing legitimacy to the UFO question. And for many, many years, the opinion-making organs of media and academia have often pushed back and said, you guys are a bunch of flying saucer nuts, you believe in little green men. And it dawned on me very concretely last year that those days are over. That argument is over. That intellectual position is spent. You can no longer be a serious person in our society today, in any reach of our society, and deny the validity of the UFO question. That intellectual position is gone. It no longer exists. And this dawned on me one night where I was at the Guggenheim Museum, as you were referencing, and I talk about this in the article. It was in September of 2019, and the Guggenheim hosted a panel with Gordon White and Diana Pasulka on the UFO question. And the auditorium was absolutely packed. And I thought to myself, this is a weird occurrence, because you don't exactly think of the Guggenheim Museum as a fount of paranormal investigation, discussion, activity. And they were sanctioning this discussion. And at the end, the curator who organized it, a guy named Troy Therian, wonderful scholar, wonderful thinker, who runs the architecture collection at the Guggenheim, Troy came up to me and he said, let me ask you a question. At what point do you think it's going to become intellectually embarrassing for people to dismiss the UFO thesis? And I said, in all honesty, right now, in the here and now, you can't be a serious person, whether you're a journalist, whether you're an academic, whatever walk of life you're in, and deny the UFO question any more than you can deny that the Earth revolves around the sun. This question is real, it's live, and the fact is, your listeners should take a moment to pat themselves on the back. Maybe just a moment, but they should take a moment to pat themselves on the back, because they kept this question percolating, and there have been sufficient disclosures at this point so that this question is now a basic part of our cultural landscape. We got to figure out what this stuff is, but that it exists, that's no longer in question.
I find it interesting that, and you point this out in the article, and we certainly talk about it enough, is that the question of us being alone in the universe. Okay, I think that no matter what background you have, that it's an impossible situation. We are not alone. There's
absolutely
there are billions, maybe an infinite number of intelligent civilizations out there, but it now needs to be addressed from a scientific standpoint about the how and the why, and let's go and pursue this. That the other part of it, that foundation is there and it's solid, and most, like you said, you can't really be an intellectual in today's society and be in a position of denial.
That's right. It's over. That position is not legit. So now we have to start to ask ourselves, hopefully in a more productive way, all right, let's get together in an interdisciplinary way and ask, what is going on?
Right.
Now, you made an interesting point. You said, look, statistically speaking, it's impossible that we are the only intelligent beings in the universe. That is a statistical fact. But one way that we might be able to expand our discussion is to ask, what do we mean by universe? Because we were all raised to think of universe as physical space, as this vast, infinite physical space. And I think the place that the UFO question is going, and this has already begun, this is not new, but I think the place that it's going in earnest and bringing other questions with it, including questions of ESP phenomena, including questions of reports of strange beasts or anomalies or natural wonders, I think these questions are starting to go in the direction of an interdimensional thesis. Because when we deal with an interdimensional thesis, based on some of the experiments and the theorizing that have gone on both in quantum mechanics and within what is called string theory, which we can go into,
we will.
It's actually simpler. It's actually simpler to explain or to begin to move towards an explanation of the UFO phenomena and other related phenomena by considering the possibilities of interdimensional causations rather than thinking in terms of the possibilities of, wow, how could a spacecraft from so infinitely far away get here? There are, of course, theoretical models that posit reasonable hypotheses of that. But if we want to use the logic of Occam's razor, which is to say that usually the simplest idea that covers the broadest number of bases is the right idea, I think the interdimensional thesis is where we should start focusing our energies. Because if we look for a DNA of Bigfoot, for example, we may never find that DNA. But that doesn't mean that the record of testimony we have around anomalous beasts or some kind of cryptozoological beast is wrong. It means we may be looking in the wrong place. We may be looking in the wrong place. And that's where quantum theory and string theory, I think, starts to open doors to us. It might help us understand where some of this stuff possibly could be coming from.
Let's take our break right here, Mitch. And it's interesting that there isn't a culture, there isn't a society on this planet going back 5,000 years on the planet that doesn't have the same stories. They share it all. We'll be right back. Our guest tonight, Mitch Horowitz, live from Manhattan, New York City. Be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat. Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Bobby Keble. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Mitch Horowitz. We're discussing his most recent article, which he describes as an umbrella theory of anomalies. It's called Reclaiming the Damned. It was just published over on Medium. The links to the article are right there on all of our social media. You need to go and check that out. And I want everybody, and I'm encouraging, Mitch, everybody to go and read the article. And some of the essence of the article I want to discuss right now when it comes to the quantum mechanics and the quantum theory and quantum physics angle that you present there. And I just want your opinion on a couple of things. We like it in our community when science is in lockstep with us, right? We enjoy that. We need the legitimacy. We need that. But there is something interesting going on when it comes to quantum theory and quantum mechanics, where these physicists put their mathematics, the equations, into words. They describe what they are working on. And a few of the ideas they want the world to accept is the multi-world theory, the multiverse theory, extra dimensions, parallel worlds, entanglement, fantastical science fiction-based statements from them. But they will say that there is no life after death, right? that there are no ghosts. There is no religion. There is, it's really weird how they want to have their cake and eat it too, and it doesn't make sense to me. What do you think of that?
Well, sometimes I think maybe in generations past, maybe this will change in the near future. Maybe we'll even see this change within our own generation. We get hung up on vocabulary words. People will talk about life after death, and immediately it divides people. Immediately people start to think in terms of concepts of religion that they grew up with and they either embraced or they fled or they rejected. Same thing with ghosts, same thing with higher intelligence or higher power. It could be that we've just been using the wrong vocabulary, because you made reference, for example, to the many worlds theory within quantum physics. The many worlds theory is one of the most extraordinary theories of life that has emerged within the modern era. And basically it comes down to the fact that within quantum physics, a subatomic particle exists in a wave state. It exists in an infinite state. It's everywhere at once until someone takes a measurement. When the measurement is taken, only then does the wave state collapse into a particle state, so to speak, and the particle, the object, becomes localized in one definable place. Now, the fact is, if an object previously existed everywhere at once and only comes to a final resting place when an observer takes a measurement, that means that there are a whole serial universe of possibilities of reality. This is what is meant by the many worlds theory. If you take a measurement, or if you don't take a measurement, if you wait 5 minutes, if you go somewhere and come back, whatever the variables are, you have created different outcomes for that particle. You have created a past, present, future for that particle.
Until you observe it. And
until you observe it.
Right. And by not observing it, you have created the infinite possibilities.
Exactly right.
And until you come back and make that what they call the QM, right, the measurement, then those possibilities have not been determined yet.
That's right.
It is a mind-blowing concept. And so they want you to go into this a science fiction Arthur C. Clarke world, right? They want you to accept that part of it. But interdimensionality and the possibilities of, say, a Bigfoot or a leprechaun or a fairy or a ghost, any of this, they don't want to go there, but they want you to accept the possibility of it happening. It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, we're sort of a house divided, and
right.
and it's very paradoxical. The physicist Erwin Schrödinger in the 1930s voiced some of the same frustrations with quantum theory that you were just describing. He said, hey, look, we are recording all this data that dictates these wild conclusions, but we're not coming to terms with it. So he created a thought experiment called Schrodinger's cat, where he said, in essence, if you take a cat and you put this cat into a pair of boxes, and you put a collar on this cat that trips a poison when it's exposed to a single atom, and you direct an atom at those boxes, and then you go to check on the cat, is the cat dead or alive? Well, common sense would dictate, gee, if the atom went into the empty box, then the cat is alive. If the atom went into the box with the cat and the poisonous device on its collar, it would trip the device and the cat is dead. That's what our macro reality tells us. But Schrodinger said you could actually demonstrate that at one point before you checked, the atom was in a wave state. So it had to be in both boxes at once, the empty box and the box with the cat, which means you would have to allow for the existence of a dead, alive cat. Both outcomes would have to be considered real based on 80 years of quantum mechanics experiments. And it blows our mind, because how could both outcomes be real? How could you have a dead, alive cat? This is where the serial universe theory, the many worlds theory, comes in. There are these different realities that coexist if we are to follow the implications of quantum theory. Who's to say that in one of these realities there's not something we call Bigfoot, we call a ghost, we call a leprechaun? These are just words. We call a flying saucer. These are just vocabulary words. They don't necessarily represent reality. They're markers for reality. But who's to say that those experiences aren't as concretely real as the experience of a dead, alive cat? They just don't fit our linear paradigm of thinking. But quantum theory dictates that such things have to exist. So when we talk about ghosts, when we talk about life after death, it may just be that we're using the wrong vocabulary, and we can all start to get together around these ideas if we don't get attached to our individual vocabulary words.
Now, when it comes to observation and making those measurements, is there a segment of society, a big segment of society around the world, that because, and it goes back to Schrodinger's cat, right? That because they don't make the measurements, right? They don't make the observations, then they don't see these other possibilities, the Bigfoots of the world or the UFOs. Yeah. And they can go through their whole lives not. And then the other segment, which, the eyewitness testimony, the observations, of which I am one of those people, because I'm open to these observations, I get to see Bigfoot, right? I get to see UFOs. I get to see Schrodinger's cat. Is that what we're dealing with?
That's a great question. My sense of things is that sometimes we capture glimpses of these interdimensional manifestations, and it could be accidental. It could be based on perspective. It could be based on a proclivity to accept this data. It could be just because somehow we get interrupted in our ordinary train of thought. Some interruption occurs, and we suddenly gain access, perhaps by perspective, perhaps by some kind of accident, to seeing things as they really are. And then, of course, we go back to our ordinary five-sensory existence. We have to go back to our ordinary five-sensory existence because it's probably necessary for us to navigate through life. We function believing in linear time, for example. Linear time feels absolutely, concretely real to us. We use it, we need it to organize our lives. But we also know, if we peel back a layer of the onion, that linearity is an illusion. It's been demonstrated that time bends at or near light speed. So if a living being is traveling at or near light speed, the aging process of that living being will actually slow down, So time itself is relative, something Einstein initially demonstrated to us. Time collapses in environments of extreme gravity, like black holes. So there are circumstances under which time bends. Time is not the orderly, linear, sliding scale that we think it is. However, we're very limited in our perspective, and we need a sense of linear time, or we wouldn't be able to function. But we can also acknowledge, if we look at the implications of the theory of relativity, that linear time doesn't really exist. It is a device. It is a device. So there's all kinds of things going on in the world that we only very occasionally capture glimpses of.
And it happens all the time, whether it's in the skies, in your home, outside of your peripheral vision. This has gone on for thousands of years. And you tell a story that I want you to share with the audience right now about your trip to Belize and the taxi driver. And, and can you please share that with us? It's an extraordinary story, actually, all the way to the end, all the way to the boulder. Let's start with the drive in the taxi. What happened?
Well, I was in the nation of. I've been to Belize a few times, but this happened about 20 years ago. I was in the nation of Belize, which is a very beautiful English-speaking country in Central America. It's on the Caribbean, bordered by Mexico and Guatemala. Beautiful country. And I was in Belize, and I was staying at this eco lodge, I guess you would say, way up in the hills in the highlands. And this eco lodge was carved out of the hills by this wonderful, enterprising family from Maryland. Just incredible people. So I'm going to this place, and the taxi driver who's taking us up this very, very long, hilly, treacherous drive in the highlands of Belize says, as soon as I drop you guys off, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to speed the hell out of here. And I said, why? And he said, because there are little men who live in these hills. And if you're walking around in the woods or something, one of these little men will come up behind you. And when you turn around and see him, you'll be so frightened that your voice will get frozen in your throat. And these guys scare me. And as soon as I drop you off, I'm going to get out of here. And I thought, well, this is just a cab driver playing scare the tourist. And I wasn't very happy about it. I didn't take it very seriously. The next day, we were canoeing on a very, very quiet stretch of river below the lodge. And we were going for a while, maybe a couple of miles, and we were on a stretch of river that was so quiet, it was just dead still. There wasn't even the sound of birds in the air. And I began saying to one of my traveling partners that I was pissed off at this cabbie from yesterday, that I thought he was just trying to frighten us and, telling us these stories about little men in the hills. And suddenly, out of nowhere, this boulder comes crashing down the hill and comes landing in the water right in front of us. And I kind of got spooked and thought, maybe I should watch what I say, because part of the legends around Aleutians, which are these little men that are said to occupy the highlands in Central America, the Irish, have their names. They call them leprechauns, different names in Africa, different names all over the world, but every culture has these legends, these stories. Part of the legend is that if you talk about them, you actualize them. If you talk about them, in effect, in quantum language, you're taking a measurement, you're selecting, you're bringing the thing into existence. So I don't know, I'm having a little fun with this story, but I'm not beyond suggesting that maybe some of these legends and some of what we learn about in quantum physics start to converge at a certain point. Maybe talking about something, maybe believing in something, maybe ascribing reality to something is not just a matter of suggestion. It's not just a matter of confirmation bias, but maybe it's an act of selection. Maybe it's a measurement.
And to avoid the quantum measurement and the observation, you should probably speak about them in the third person. Right?
Yeah, right.
Remove them from the conversation and not make the direct observation. I'm sure cultures have developed that technique, haven't they?
Well, it's interesting. In Ireland, actually, they don't use the term leprechaun. They use the term other crowd, the other crowd.
Right.
Yeah. Now, it's funny. In Ireland, several years ago, there was a highway that was being newly constructed, and the blueprints of the highway required engineers to bulldoze over what was considered a fairy bush or a domain of leprechauns. And there was a folklorist who's a friend of mine, though I haven't been in touch with him in several years, named Eddie Lenihan, who documents stories about the other crowd. And he undertook a campaign that compelled the government to reroute the highway so it didn't cut through the fairy bush, because Eddie's contention, and the contention of a lot of traditionally minded folk in Ireland, is that if you bulldoze a fairy bush, the entities who considered that home are going to cause severe mischief, like accidents on the highway. So they decided to reroute the highway. So traditional minded folk in Ireland, of which there are more than you might suspect,
right,
they don't say leprechauns because they don't want to call these mischievous little beings into their perspective. They say the other crowd. They disguise it a little bit.
Do you think that there will be a day where the great physicist of the world, and a theoretical physicist and a quantum physicist, you can measure them in dozens, right? There's not that many of them at the professional level, but I think Sean Carroll said the other day in an interview, he said there's 150 of him on the planet. That's a very small number, but they're very influential, and a lot of them have elevated to rock star level, right, with this admiration. Do you think there will come a day where they will take a step back and go, okay, ghosts are real, that there is an after, that consciousness is something that we are going to now study in physics, and we're going to figure out what is making this happen, instead of going down this agnostic, atheist road of there's nothing else to wonder about in the universe? Do you think that would actually happen?
That's an interesting question, because if you had asked me that question maybe a year ago, I would have sounded a gloomy note. I think last time I was on the show, actually, I was talking about how successful skeptics have been at hounding ESP research off of college campuses.
Right.
And I think last time I was on the show, I was saying that we have lost about a generation of research, maybe 30 years of research progress into ESP here in the United States, because critics have been so successful. They have hounded it off campuses. But my outlook has changed, because I've seen this paradigm shift occur very recently with regard to UFOs. And I do think authentically that things are moving in the culture. I remember about 10 years ago, I was at a very small conference at the Salon Institute, and it was a gathering of some writers and scholars and philosophers who specifically studied the esoteric. And the idea was, we want to hunker down and have a really serious discussion about the field, about what the possibilities are. And Michael Murphy, the co-founder of Esalen, was saying how eager he was for more resources to be dedicated to the UFO question, that we had to research this. We had to get our arms around what this is. And someone said to him, look, Mike, the fact is we do live in a very materialist culture, and there's a wide swath of Americans who are never going to take seriously the UFO thesis unless they see something on radar. Well, the fact is, flash forward 10 years, we have things on radar. We have cockpit video recordings that appear on the front page of the New York Times, on the homepage of CNN, on the homepage of the Wall Street Journal. This is a reality. So in a period of 10 years, we have this incontrovertible empirical data that speaks directly to the reality of the UFO thesis. It's right there. So it has changed. Now, I don't know that a physicist is ever going to use the term ghost, but he certainly may, or she may, come to the conclusion that we may be capturing glimpses of beings that exist in some kind of superposition, like these particles that only localize when someone takes a measurement. It could be that we're seeing things of another dimensional nature, and that's a serious question. They may never use the word ghost, but for differences in vocabulary, we could be talking about the same thing.
Yeah, when I hear these rock star physicists, make these very flippant, these offhand comments that suggest their time is too important spent on, the calculations and the numbers and working out the future, because that's, it's all about probabilities, and their time cannot be wasted on life after death, right? Or the question of ghosts. And that's disappointing when, to me, the research is supporting these other questions, and they should be asking those questions, and that's what science is about. And that's what disappoints me today.
Well, there's always been a kind of wrestling match in our culture between accepting data and then probing the implications of the data. So we have all this quantum data. We have 80 years worth, maybe 90 years worth at this point.
All right.
And the question is, do we want to probe the implications of the data? Erwin Schrödinger, back in the 1930s, was frustrated with the unwillingness of his colleagues to acknowledge the surreal implications of the data. So he created the Schrödinger's cat thought experiment as a way to force them to at least begin to confront some of these questions. Now, there's a research psychiatrist named Jeffrey Schwartz at UCLA who, for the past 20 years, has been researching neuroplasticity. He has discovered through brain scans that sustained thoughts will actually alter the neural pathways through which electrical impulses travel in your brain. Everyone accepts Schwartz's data. The data is not controversial. It forms the backbone of the field that we call neuroplasticity. And Schwartz, to his credit, makes the point that what we're actually seeing on a cellular level is mind over matter. This is mind over matter. We're told that the brain produces thoughts, not that thoughts produce the brain, but what we're seeing in neuroplasticity experiments is sustained thought actually altering the cellular matter, the neural pathways of your brain. That has staggering implications. If one follows those implications, it basically wipes out the entire materialist contention that thought is just an epiphenomenon of brain, because it's demonstrating that thought, whatever thought is, that's an open question in itself, is altering the neural pathways of the brain. And Schwartz, who is probably the central figure in this field, he acknowledges the implications. And he has been waging a campaign to get his own colleagues who accept his data to also start to probe the implications. So there are some scientists who will acknowledge this. And I think if we've been able to move the ball down the field this far, where we've seen such a paradigm shift in terms of public perception of UFOs, I think there's reason to feel hope, genuine hope, that we can open up the conversation.
Now, I know you're quarantined with coronavirus.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to ask you if I can keep you for one more segment. Can I keep you on just for one more segment?
Absolutely. I feel good.
You said you were feeling better.
For me, so I'm all good. Yeah, I'm staying.
All right. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Mitch Horowitz. When we come back, well, I was almost going to go into Niels Bohr and Everett, but when we come back, I think I'm going to talk about it's cool to be a witch. Our guest tonight is Mitch Horowitz. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Mitch Horowitz, live from New York City. Now, it's very simple. If you ever miss a live broadcast of this show, just get our podcast It's just $2 per month. We have over 1,200 archive broadcasts right there, episodes for you for just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and click on that podcast banner. And also, I want to mention really quick, you can follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. You can also follow Mitch on Twitter at Mitch Horowitz, and he's got that fancy blue check mark right next to his name to make sure that you're not following an imposter. And you can go and do that. Also, I want everybody to go and visit MitchHorowitz.com and also check out everything that he's got over at Medium, because right now, if you're staying at home with nothing to do, I've got a great way for you to occupy the next 3 weeks, which is go and read all of Mitch's stuff on Medium. It will certainly occupy your time. Now, Mitch, this is the thing. I like being a rebel. You are a rebel. You dress the part. You've got the tats. You look like a rebel. And our community is a cool place to go and just be a rebel and get outside of society, right? That's us. Today, it's not that kind of party. Everybody wants to be us now.
Yeah, right.
I'm being serious. And when you have an article in the New York Times, it's cool to be a witch. I'm not sure. It's like, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Are you with me on this?
Yeah, we have to be careful not to become victims of our own success. It's funny. Witchcraft in particular is becoming very mainstream. It's becoming very widespread. It's one of the fastest growing new religious movements in the world, and it has been for a long time. And I celebrate it because I want people to have all kinds of different ways of expressing themselves and feeling that the widest range of options are open to them. I also honor a great deal of the thought and writing that comes out of the Wiccan and witchcraft communities. But of course, everything gets commercialized in a real hurry. That's just the nature of things.
Right.
And we got to be careful. We got to be careful that we don't just become another kind of for-profit, institutionalized religious expression. It's real easy. It's real easy. It's very easy for those of us in the alternative spiritual culture to ape and to mimic some of the things you see within religious movements. There's one New Age organization that publicly disassociated from me because they felt that the stuff I was dealing with was too controversial. And I thought, wow, these are people who think that they're into research and enlightenment, but they really shut down free thought in a hurry when it ruffles feathers or perhaps endangers funding or something of that nature. Whatever the case may be, it's human nature. It's human nature. And we have to be on the lookout that we in the alternative spiritual culture, we in the so-called free-thinking culture, do not echo the very things that we came here to get away from.
Well, I equate it to punk rock. Now
exactly.
stay with me on this, okay? Just stay with me on this. When punk rock, to be a part of the punk community, certainly back in Los Angeles or New York in the early 80s, you had to be brought in. You couldn't walk in to the punk rock community and dress the part and suddenly be accepted. There were imposters out there, and there was a line in the sand. It's the same thing today with the spiritual movement and witches and that type of religion and the UFO community. We've been screaming for attention. We've been screaming to be accepted and for people to listen to us. But now I don't want the bandwagoners. Right? I don't want those coming, I've always believed in UFOs. No, you have not.
Right.
I've always been a witch. I've always been into tarot cards. You don't want the curator of the Guggenheim to come up and go, dude, can you give me a 3-card reading? No, I can't.
I do, actually. I do, and he's very cool, and I will.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do. It's kind of this way. Like a friend of mine was saying, everybody today thinks the Ramones, or professes to think the Ramones are such a great band, but back when the Ramones were actually alive, nobody was going to their concerts. The guys had to stay on the road 24/7 in order to make a living. But today, everybody and their grandmother wears a Ramones T-shirt.
Right.
So, there's a question of popularity compromising the community. I think that what's so important is that with popularity must not come conformity, must not come a shutting down of the search. Because the thing I always say to people is that my one non-negotiable is my search. That is my one non-negotiable. I will never draw parameters around the questions that I'm willing to ask, the things that I'm willing to investigate, the inquiries that I want to make. And if that means there are certain places I can't go and certain relationships that I can't have, so be it. So be it. Because everything is negotiable but the search, but the question. So I don't want popularity, or I don't want mainstream acceptance or the wish for mainstream acceptance to compromise the principles of our search. Krishnamurti, the great spiritual teacher, made the point that the wish for respectability is the greatest barrier to individual development. And it's really important to remember that, because respectability can be very seductive. It can be very compelling, but it really can close down some of the broader reaches of your own questioning, of your own search. So I don't want popularity to impose conformity on us.
Yeah, I call it selling out, right?
Yeah.
And, all of the rebels, whether it's in the arts or writing, musicians, it doesn't matter. Even rebels in politics were the exceptions. They weren't the rule, right? And as soon as you sell out, your inquisitiveness, your lust for adventure and creativity tends to fade. You need to have the pressure kept on you for having the rebel element. And that's really the truth, isn't it?
Absolutely. William Blake made the wonderful statement in his book, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Opposition is true friendship. Opposition is true friendship. And what I take that to mean is that whatever is pushing you to expand, to challenge yourself, to break through boundaries, that's what's building you. That's what's helping you to grow. But as soon as we settle into a kind of fixed catechism or vocabulary or consensus-based way of doing things, we don't have a search anymore. We have a congregation, perhaps, but we don't have a search.
And I want to, we're going to stay on the same theme here, but there's something else that you present in your article, and I want everybody to go and check it out. There's you've got a couple of film clips in there. I want everybody to read the article first and then get to the clips. Actually, by the way, Mitch, I finished the article and then I went back to the clips. So I want everybody to do the same thing. Again, the article is called Reclaiming the Damned, and we've got everything up on social media where you can go and check it out. But you went over to Egypt. Now, I want to talk about that, but there was a rebel element in there that I just smiled when I read what you said, which is you went over there and filmed without the appropriate documents and approval from the Egyptians, and you guys full-on rebelled it. You guys went through and filmed. Now, there's a certain edge to that, isn't it? The way that you are forced into approaching this documentary, knowing that you could be arrested, right? You could go eat some Egyptian jail food.
Right. It was a pretty heavy experience. The fact is, we're making a documentary. The director, Ronnie Thomas, who's brilliant. Ronnie and I are making a documentary about the occult book, The Kabbalion, which is a very favorite book of mine, maybe a book that's well known to some of your listeners. And we wanted to probe the antecedents behind some of the ideas in The Kabbalion, which itself was published in 1908, but adapted some ancient Hermetic ideas, something that's not easily understood. So we wanted to do a documentary on this. We got funding. We got very good funding, but nonetheless, even the budget that we have, which is good, it wasn't sufficient to cover the cost of licenses to shoot in Egypt. Those licenses are hugely expensive, and we just didn't have the resources. So Ronnie insisted, look, man, we have to go back to the source. We got to shoot in Egypt. We got to shoot in Egypt. And he said, we're going to find a way to do it without paying for the licenses, but we have to be super careful, because if they catch you filming there without a license, you will get arrested and put in jail. And that's going to be a whole other experience. So basically, long story short, we went there and we did some guerrilla filming. We did some guerrilla filmmaking. We did what we could. We got some extraordinary footage, had some incredible experiences, and your listeners can check out these video clips, both of which are situated in Egypt, and you'll be quite amazed at what we were able to get, albeit surreptitiously. I wish we could have afforded the licenses, but we just couldn't. But we didn't want that to get in the way of an exchange of ideas.
Well, when you, like I said, you keep the edge on, right? You're the rebel. You capture another element. You really do. It's another mindset. And I want you to share. There's two experiences there, and one. I want you to talk about both really quick before we have to say goodnight. I would like to talk about the bull in the Valley of the Kings. That was an extraordinary experience. And then I want to get over to Sekhmet. And the Sekhmet situation was not entirely revealed. I mean, at least to me. So I have some questions about that.
Sure.
But let's go to the Valley of the Kings. What happened over there?
Well, the Valley of the Kings contains crypts, very deeply ensconced below the normal tourist areas. And we were able to pay money and get down to a crypt that normally is closed off. And within this crypt, there are bas reliefs carved into the walls that are actually still colorized. I mean, these are 3,000 years old. And because this is a very dry, temperate, cave-like environment, this material has been preserved. And a guide invited me to lay hands on an enormous bas relief of a bull, which was a symbol of great strength and virility to the ancient Egyptians. And I was hesitant at first because obviously if everybody were to lay hands on antiquities, it would destroy them, it would degrade them. And I take that very seriously.
We all should. Yes.
Yeah, I felt I was being offered a gift, and I accepted the gift. And so I laid hands on this magnificent 3,000-year-old colorized bas relief of a bull, and I can only tell you and your listeners what my experience was. I mean, just absolute lightning shot through my body. It was the most extraordinary, palpable experience. And when you have an experience like that, you might be getting a glimpse of what some of our primordial ancestors may have experienced around these monuments. So I felt incredibly privileged to be able to do that.
Well, okay. When you say lightning, right? We are all imagining what this moment was like. What was going through your mind? Was there a visual that accompanied this?
Yes, my eyes were closed, and I felt or saw within, I suppose you could say, a tremendous flash of light, and I felt an electrical current go through my body, not in a disturbing way, not in a negative way, but this vibratory current. And it was a palpable experience. Of course, one could say, well, gee, Mitch is a suggestible guy, and that's just his imagination acting overtime. Maybe it was. I don't know. The critic wouldn't know, but that was the experience that I had.
Many researchers have commented to me on this program that there are certain places in Egypt that we connect with as an individual. It's not the same for everybody else, right?
But that's a great observation.
Right. You will find that spot that changes you. Do you think that's what happened in the Valley of the Kings?
Yes, I think that's a wonderful observation because, for example, we visited the Great Pyramids, and Ronnie got to go inside one of the sarcophagi inside the King's Chamber, and I was surprisingly indifferent to the experience. The Great Pyramids, obviously, you're in front of history. You fall to your knees in awe of the antiquity, but it wasn't, for me, a higher experience. It wasn't an experience out of the ordinary in terms of something tactile, something palpable.
Right.
The Valley of Kings experience, touching the bas relief of the bull, that was. So I think that observation really makes a lot of sense.
Did Ronnie have the same experience?
He didn't really have the same experience. He had his own private experiences. I'd have to defer to him, to talk about that. But that experience was my own.
Now let's get over to Sekhmet. Now,
yes.
What is interesting here? I'm going to let you walk us through this. But as I'm reading your experience, this was done in total darkness.
Yeah.
And that's got to add to the moment. But I'm setting everybody up for this. Okay. Now, let's start at the beginning. You've got to money changes hands. You're bribing your way into this situation. Let's start from there. What happened?
We entered a very small temple to Sekhmet off the beaten path within the temple complex of Karnak, which is a vast complex. And off the path of normal tourist sites, there's a padlocked small temple to the cat goddess Sekhmet. We paid to enter. We entered, and we were guided inside. Total pitch blackness, and here is this edifice that is thousands of years old, and not a nook or cranny is open to let light in. And this total pitch blackness, we were directed to lay hands on the statue of this goddess and say a prayer to her. And again, I just felt this absolute sense of a kind of melting away of a sense of separateness between myself and between the being that was in front of me. I just felt this sense of absolute transcendental oneness. It was a totalizing experience where your body, your mind, your emotions are completely unified, and yet you don't feel like you're separate from the environment. It was a transcendent experience.
And was this done in Egyptian, or was this done in English?
Well, the guide who brought us into the chamber, he was an Egyptian guide, but he spoke to us in English, and he gave us instruction in English, and he said some prayers, did some chanting with us while we were in there.
And I have to say, profound.
I'm sorry?
Profound.
Oh, it was a tremendous experience. I mean, it was amazing. I had a deeper experience there in the dark of that small chamber, maybe about 10 feet by 10 feet, than I did in the shadow of the Great Pyramids. So it is very personal. It's funny how you approach these magnificent remnants of ancient empires, and you're filled with all these prejudices and expectations of what you're going to experience.
Right.
But it always takes you by surprise. Always takes you by surprise.
What is it? I mean, it's such a broad question, but what is it that the ancient Egyptians understood and respected that has been completely lost on us today? It's amazing, isn't it, when we're talking about 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years old?
And, sometimes I think it's funny, we look back on the ancient Egyptians and we're in awe of their architectural abilities, their mathematical abilities, all kinds of unprecedented, epic creations that emerged from this empire, which extended for thousands of years. One of the things I think we've neglected are their metaphysical insights. Our ancient ancestors in Egypt, in the Hellenic world, in Persia, in India, our ancient ancestors, they looked upon the natural world, they looked upon the energies of the natural world, and they personified these things, they deified these things, they gave them names like Zeus or Minerva or Set or Bastet. They gave the energies names, personified them. They worshiped them, they petitioned them, and they had these relationships with these energies that went on for thousands of years. And it seems to me that we modern people have completely overlooked this. We haven't taken the time to ask, maybe their understanding of the natural world was so vastly deeper than our own, and maybe there's something to learn there. Maybe having relationships with these personified energies is a legitimate inquiry on the spiritual path. I believe it is. And I think we should start to resurrect and rediscover some of those ideas.
Do you have a release date for the documentary?
I don't have a release date, but we're looking towards summer of 2020. Of course, with the pandemic, everything has gotten scrambled. So we'll see. Maybe instead of summer, it'll move to fall. But I'll be updating people on social media.
Now, everything has been stopped, and I understand that. But you spend a lot of time out here in Los Angeles. When are you coming out this way again? Do you have any idea?
As soon as humanly possible. I love the city of Los Angeles. And look, if things start to go back to normal, maybe in the month of July, I'll be out there. There's a performance space there called Provoke Studio that's opening up in Chinatown. I know I'm going to be speaking there. It's just as soon as we can make it happen. And if people want to catch me before I'm able to get back out on the road, on the Shudder channel, there's a new documentary series premiering Thursday night called Cursed Films. It's a 5-part documentary series. I'm in the opening episode about The Exorcist, so that's something people could check out on Shudder. That's premiering Thursday night.
Thank you so much, Mitch, and please get better, be safe. Hopefully we're going to be out in front and around this worldwide crisis that is just, we're all experiencing it together, and you're right there in the middle of it. And so please get better, get healthy, get out here to L.A. Everybody check out Shudder on Thursday night, and certainly MitchHorowitz.com, and you can follow Mitch right here on Twitter at Mitch Horowitz, like I said, with that fancy blue check mark. Mitch, thank you so much, my friend. What a great conversation.
Real pleasure. Thank you. It's really lifted me up. Appreciate it.
You're the best. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
And I'm going to take a quick break right here. Thank you, Mitch. Mitch is he's on the mend, and that's the good news. I am going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back and open up the phone lines. Let's have some chats. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I want to thank Mitch Horowitz. Great conversation. Mitch is on the mend. He's got coronavirus right there in Manhattan. And, you know, I spoke to him last week, and he wasn't feeling so hot last week. And he said, but it's just too important. Plus, I've been on quarantine, man. I need to come on the show. I said, okay. All right, let's do this. And we felt that he was only going to have the energy to go so long. Now, I'm bringing in calls right now. When you hear my voice and then it goes silent, I'm just putting you on hold, okay? So I will get to everybody. And so there you go. Just stay right there. Do not hang up. I'm opening up the phone line, 747-228-2051 for the rest of the show. We got 2 segments left, 747-228-2051. But anyway, so bringing Mitch on the show tonight, he sounded so much better, and I could have, and I want to thank Mitch, I could have talked him into, you know what, let him get his rest, and I could tell he wanted to keep on going, but it's not just the right, prudent, fresh thing to do. So, Mitch, get some rest. Thank you so much. Great conversation. And I want to point out a couple of things. One, when you're a rebel, right? When you are a rebel in this society, when you are a rebel, that's when the creativity flows, man. And you are just going against the grain. And that's what Mitch has always done. That's what this show is about. That's what this community is about. And making the comparison back to the punk rock world is a real one. And you can't be an imposter here. And we are rebels in this community. And we want acceptance. We want to be recognized. And we want people to understand what we are talking about here. But I don't want the bandwagoners. You know, I don't want that. I don't want to become part of pop culture, the status quo. No, I just don't. When I see somebody, some kid, you know, somebody in their 20s wearing a Misfits shirt, right? A Wasted Youth T-shirt. Yeah, come on, man. You can go up to, tell me a Wasted Youth song right now. And they will look at you like, what? Who's that? Well, you're wearing the shirt. That's what I'm talking about. You can't walk around with a Roswell T-shirt on and just be accepted. No, I don't want that. I like where we are. I like the recognition, but I don't want to become the norm. I just don't want that. I don't want that. Okay. Opening up the phone lines, 747-228-2051. An awful lot to talk about. Mitch's article and Reclaiming the Damned is amazing. And I had said to Mitch earlier today, and I really mean it, he has got a way of writing. I said this to Rita. He's got a way of writing. I wish that I could write like Mitch Horowitz. He's got a way of getting it done. And the article is so good, and it's written for us. I'm telling you, it's written for us. Go and check it out. The links are up all over social media, and you can fully appreciate where Mitch is coming from. All right? He's got a way of writing. It's so smooth. He uses some pretty what do I want to say here? Intellectual verbiage at points. And it flows when he does that. It's really cool. And he looks the part. He's such a rebel. Oh, I didn't also, when you go in and read the article, you'll see some pictures of Mitch over in Egypt. And check out, he plays, he is who he is, right? Well, anyway, imagine Mitch, that guy in those pictures going up to security guards, like with automatic weapons and bribing his way into temples, it's just the way of life over there. You're not doing anything that's wrong, but he doesn't fit the mold of like an archaeologist. He doesn't have that thing going on. I just always picture that. So, anyway, let's get to the phone calls. Let's see who's up first. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello, Jimmy. How you doing?
Who's this?
This is Joe. It's from Staten Island, New York City, the epicenter of the world.
That's what I'm talking about. See, I just wanted to hear you say it, Joe.
There you go. Hey, listen. We were famous for 9/11, infamous. Now infamous is the epicenter of COVID. I mean, hey, I live in the hottest place in the whole world, Jimmy.
and yeah, what's it like for you to have Mitch on the show tonight? Right there from Manhattan, full-on New Yorker, right? How does that make you feel? He's out there on the front lines. He's getting through this, but he's part of this community. What did you think of the conversation?
Well, he's got the New York spirit, Jimmy. He's got that fighting spirit like a lot of good people out here, just doing his thing, and that's what it's all about.
And are you a rebel, Joe?
I was a born rebel, backwards, forwards, and in between, Jimmy.
That's what I'm talking about. Never change, Joe.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
That's what I'm talking about. Enjoy your night, Joe, and thank you for the phone call, my friend. Go Beckley Tepe.
You got to go Beckley Tepe. And I want to visit that place, too, Jimmy, after you're talking about it. I looked some of that up online. That looks pretty damn interesting.
Yeah, and I want you to, after you hang up, go and check out his article because it's all about New York, and it's really, really interesting. It's such a great read. Go and check it out. And I'll see you tomorrow night right here on the show. Thank you so much.
Let me tell you something. One thing about New York is New York is the toughest bunch of critters you'd ever want to meet. That's all I can tell you out there, world.
That's the way it is. It's a way of life.
You mess with a New Yorker, we all stick together. We're all together here.
That's right. That's right. And that's the one thing that I think impresses all of us about New York City is that it may be 9 or 10 million people on a small island, and the boroughs and everything else that's there, but you guys are one heartbeat, and you guys know that. It's so impressive. So thank you so much, Joe. Yeah, go ahead.
We fight amongst ourselves a little bit, but when the push comes to shove, we all come together, Jimmy.
You know, there's a good joke in there. I'll let it go to another show. Thank you so much, Joe, and be safe.
I got a quick joke. You want to hear a quick joke? Quick joke.
Sure.
Okay. A guy bought shoes from a drug dealer, right? So his problem is he's tripping all over the place. You don't understand the reason why.
Okay.
He buys shoes from a drug dealer.
Yes.
And he's tripping all over the place. You don't understand why? Unless there's something wrong with the shoes.
I'm missing it. Okay, Joe. Have a good night, man.
No problem. Okay, take care. Bye.
I'll talk to you. And something lost in the translation there, but thank you so much, Joe, and be safe out there. Joe is a security guard, works all night long there in Staten Island and listens to Fade to Black and checks in with us all night. And I cannot believe I did what I just did. Oh, no. Okay, I don't know how to do this. It's this one right here. Got it. Whew. I lost all of my phone calls for a minute, but I got them back. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Dave from South L.A.
Dave in South L.A. How have you been, my friend?
Been interesting. Things have been interesting. These are times where I'm been kind of having flashbacks going back to 2012 and, the turn of the century, where people started like Y2K, the whole thing's going to fall apart. And so I think going on from about that time up through 2012, people were told to get themselves in order as far as their spirituality goes. You need your warriors at this time. And whatever it is that you use, it's time to rock it. It's hit the fan, and you need to be on point. And I think people are going to bump up their, the masses are going to bump up their spiritual awareness. If you're addicted to fear porn and your awareness rises, you're going to fry. It's going to cause you to short circuit. But, I've been guided out of L.A., actually. Last year, sorry I couldn't make it over to the Rainbow Room, but my spirit guides kind of like compress everything. Spiritual experiences going from, for the month of November out the door to the Central Coast. Really, really nice. The house on the hill. And, the spirits, the ancestors, they all put me here in New York, of all places. Got here on the last, one of the last planes out. And now I'm taking care of my 86-year-old parents.
Wait a minute. Wait, whoa. You're not here in Los Angeles? You're out in New York right now.
Yeah, I'm up the Hudson Valley.
You're up in the Hudson Valley. Okay. No, you're in the thick of it. Wow. Okay. When you say last plane out, what day was that?
That was probably at the beginning of the month. I mean, it wasn't the absolute last plane, but it was before things started to get really dicey. I would say about that time, 10% of the people I saw in the airport wore masks. Now it's probably close to 90%. I don't know. You'd have to check with somebody who's been out there.
Well, you would have to find somebody in the airport before you find somebody wearing a mask. But you bring up a great point, David. I want to go back to the fear porn aspect of this. We have been dealing with the media, fake news, and fear porn for forever. Certainly it kicked up a notch over the last 2 or 3 years, going back to 2016 and 17. Today it is completely out of control. And for those out there that are subject to emotional swings and they can't pull themselves away from it, they go and they could read the bad news all day long, because the bad news, the fear porn, is refreshing itself about every 60 minutes, right? And you've got reports coming in from all over the globe, and it's got to start to wear people down, doesn't it?
I think some people, it's like you're not prepared. I mean, I fortunately brought my, spirit tools. So I'm here with, my ancestors. He spoke of the other crowd. That's called, in Africa, they call them the Iame. In Brazil, they're called the Age spirits. I got, permissions to work with these, as well as my regulars. And so, I tell people, I'm putting my money on, the spirit Babalu Aye. That's the protector during times of pestilence. So, I'm working these things, and I think things are bumping up. I want to have sunrise Easter Sunday. Let's call it a little religious ceremony out in front of inside a stone chamber. Nobody knows who made these stone chambers or how long ago, but they're not huge, but they're all over this county. So there's several hundred, and they're all aligned to different days for the dawn on the summer solstice and things like that.
Right. Will you do me a favor, David? Take some pictures. I want to see them.
Oh, for sure. We'll get them to you. Man, but like everything they've been talking about since 2012, all that stuff. Now's the time to use it. If you've been minding your P's and Q's and been revving up and raising your vibration, you're going to make it through. If you haven't, I don't know I can't say what's going to happen. But,
no, you're right. You're right.
Well.
You're right. You're absolutely right with that. And the power of the mind in days like this, its importance cannot be measured. And then the other part is, you know what? You need to eat right. You need to take care of your immune system. Keep your mind right, and you're going to be just fine. And
raw garlic, instant social distancing.
I'll talk to you, David. Take some pictures, man.
All right, I for sure will.
Go Beckley Tepe.
All right, peace.
And Dave from South LA is one of the coolest people that you can imagine. How do I say this? You need to put something in your mind who Dave is, put that in your mind, and then take that up like 15 levels of cool, and then you're going to arrive at Dave in South LA. He is an absolutely amazing individual. And I'm busy here trying to line up phone calls, so please enjoy my not being able to talk and chew gum at the same time. Okay, here we go. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Justin.
Hey, Justin. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Sanford, Florida.
How are you, man? Everything good?
Yeah, doing pretty good. People ain't too hectic or crazy down here yet, but Orlando's actually on a lockdown right now. So, and from what I heard, 7 people got arrested last week because of the lockdown.
In Orlando?
Yeah, in Orlando, they had a lockdown, and then 7 people have been arrested since the lockdown because of being out of curfew hours.
Yeah, what's it like in Orlando having Disney World and everything there, Universal Studios and stuff, everything is shut down? What's that like?
It's really crazy because actually traffic has died down a lot. Not as many people on the road. It's almost like a ghost town nowadays.
And how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good so far. I mean, we got everything we need. Can't complain. It could always be worse, no matter what.
Now, we just finished a great conversation with Mitch Horowitz. And what do you think? Are you a rebel, Justin?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely a rebel.
And do you want to have our community remain the rebel? You know what I mean? Because right now it's cool to be us. Right? It's cool to be into UFOs. It's cool to be into ghosts and ghost hunting and Bigfoot. It's cool to be But I feel like people are bandwagoning right now, and I kind of like being strange. But now you and I are normal. I want to continue to be the rebel. How do we do that?
I don't know, but I've actually noticed since things are starting to get bigger, I've had like friends and other people I know, oh yeah, I like aliens, and yeah, do you know this, do you know that? And it's like, dude, I knew that 10 years ago, like, where have you been? And they just want to hang on and act like they're cool, and it's like, what is going on now? Everybody knows everything about UFOs, and before you guys call me crazy?
Right. Right. And, people, they want to talk about Roswell like they know, right? It's like, oh, come on, man. But you know what? Like I said, be careful what you wish for, but hopefully we can keep the urgency on. And that's what Mitch and I were talking about. You don't want to give up you don't want to give up the intensity. You don't want to give up what we have been trying to do. And the reason why we've had the energy to do this is because people have been pushing us down. So you want to get up, you want to fight. But once they, you know what I mean? It's like free play on a video game. You don't want free plays, right? That takes away the urgency. You know what I mean? When you're pumping quarters into a video game, it made the game important. When you don't have to pump in quarters, who cares?
Yeah, then it's boring after that.
It has no value. So there you go.
Exactly.
Justin,
I had a quick thing I wanted to say.
Sure.
I don't know if it's true, but from what I read in history, this coronavirus is supposed to kind of happen in a way, because in 1720, 1820, and 1920, there was also virus and like plague, and every 100 years, some kind of sickness takes out some of our population. What's your thoughts on that?
This Earth, this planet, Mother Nature, Gaia, has always had a way of putting things in check. Not only with humans, but that's with everything on this planet. And there is a balance of nature. There's an ecosystem. There's a way. We got here. Everything got here for a reason. And when you think about the complexities of enzymes and chemicals and molecules and the way things work and the cycle of life, for something like a tadpole or a butterfly, right, to go from a caterpillar, these things, these transitions, we are talking about trillions of chemical changes that have to happen with reactions between cells and certain chemicals and enzymes that have to happen in exact perfect way for these transitions to happen. I'm just talking about one thing, like a tadpole to a frog or a caterpillar to a butterfly or sperm egg combinations. These things are incredible, right? Well, all of this happened before Homo sapiens sapien was here. And now we are here. We can't change things. If we screw things up, this planet, Gaia, Mother Nature, Earth, has a way of putting you in check. I'm telling you, man, and I'm not trying to freak anybody out. I'm just saying it's the way that it is. And that goes, that's it. That goes with, ice ages and the heating and cooling of the earth, or volcanoes and earthquakes and tidal waves and tornadoes and hurricanes. And there's that element of it. And then there is, plagues and pestilence and flus and cyclic things. The animal kingdom goes through these same issues just like we do. And that's it, man. I'm not, Mother Nature is much bigger, much more powerful, and smarter than you and I.
Oh, yeah, 100 times smarter.
That's the way it is, Justin. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, have a good night. Go Beckley Tepe.
Go Beckley Tepe, coming from Orlando. And I can't imagine what Orlando, such a dynamic city with all of that life that is going on there, to have it just shut down, just like every other city, every other piece of culture, every society, every country on this planet is going through these things right now. But certainly Orlando, where the economy is based on Disney World and Universal Studios, how that has changed life in the streets out there. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Faded Black. Who's calling? You're live. Turn me down in the background. Okay, that's no good. Can't do that. Let's go over to here. Hi, you're live on Faded Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy. It's Laura calling from the Black Hills.
Laura from the Black Hills. How are you? What's on your mind tonight?
Well, Jimmy, I noticed, Mr. Horowitz was talking about his what happened when he went to Belize. And so then I immediately thought of the years you spent in Panama. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if you had any similar type of experiences there. Because,
I don't talk about that much for a couple of reasons. And yes, Laura, you're absolutely right. I wasn't old enough. I was 14, 15, 16 years old, okay? I wasn't old enough to grasp some of the things and the concepts that were going on. I will say this, though. Panama is, even though it's on the Pacific, where I lived was on the Pacific side, not on the Gulf of Mexico side, the Gulf side of Panama, which is a city called Salon. I was in Panama City on the Pacific side. But Panama, its culture is rooted in all things Caribbean. Okay? Mm-hmm. And what goes along with that? All of that voodoo, all of that crazy, and it is part of the culture there. And although I talked about it and I had a lot of Panamanian friends and there were things that were around me, I wasn't old enough to appreciate it. I was too into Black Sabbath and Ted Nugent and Santana and Led Zeppelin and hanging out with my friends trying to play guitar and things, where that part of the culture in Panama and the Mayan culture, by the way, which but that is the Panamanian, the native Panamanians are all Mayan. I didn't get absorbed into it, right? And I was too young, so at least I have that excuse. But did I hear about it? Absolutely. Did I see it? Yes. Was there weirdness? Yes. I went out. Okay, I've got 2 minutes before the break. Let me share this story with you. Okay? Friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name, says, "Hey, man, let's go out. We're going to go into the interior outside of Panama City. We're going to go up, and we're going to go to a friend of mine's house. He's really cool." Okay, so we take a cab, we take a taxi outside of Panama City. We ride about, I'm going to say, 30 miles up into the interior. And how do I say this? There is no rescue. Okay, there's no calling for help. There's nothing going. And so we go, and it's a compound. It's a house with this fence, a wall around it. We go through the gates, we go in, and it was, I think I was about 15 years old. Pot, some alcohol, some other things that were going on, but it was weird. Okay. Wow. And it got to the point where I was like, man, I gotta go. And you can come with me if you want, but I'm gonna walk out to that dirt road out front, and I'm gonna make my way back to the highway, and I'm gonna get the first Chiva Chiva bus back to Panama City, but I'm not hanging here. And he said, I'm gonna stay. I said, okay, I'm out. And now I'm not going to go into the details, Laura, but just let me say that there was a magic thing going on there. I'm not going to say black magic, white magic. I'm just saying that there were some things going on that freaked me the frig out. And I walked back. I walked by myself. I left my friend there. I walked up the dirt road. I got on the first bus. That cost me 25 cents. And I get on this bus, and I ride all the way back to Panama City going, man, that was close.
Wow.
That was close. I went right there. Yeah. There's no question
it was
about
interesting that he brought up. He brought up the whole idea of interdimensionality, and kind of the shifting in and out through the quantum fields and that kind of idea.
Right.
I think he's quite right, and it would have been really interesting for having him talk about as well some of his background with the Theosophical Society and the information he's got about some of the founders. So
I remember
that would be cool.
I remember on Monday, I go back to school. I got to take a break. I went back to school and I see my friend, right? And he shouldn't have left. I go, dude, I don't think I ever talked to him again. I was freaked out. You should have left, man. It was great. No. Hey, Laura, thank you for the phone call.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. Very good program. Thank you, sir.
Give me a Gobekli Tepe.
Yes, Gobekli Tepe.
Gobekli Tepe. Thank you so much, Laura.
Be well.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Be well. Yeah.
And I don't have much more to add to that story, except for it's true and it really happened. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back after this short break. More of your phone calls are next. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Gobekli Tepe.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Open lines right now, 747-228-2051. If you're on hold, stay right there. We've got one segment left. Yeah, that thing in Panama, that really happened. And I went right. That was heart of darkness right there, man. That was like going up the river in Vietnam in Apocalypse Now. I'm telling you, it was freaky. It was freaky. All right, 747-228-2051. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? You're live.
Well, Jimmy?
Yes.
Jimmy, I don't know. At this point, I don't know if it's me or not.
It is you. But do you know if it's you? That's the question.
Well, this is the question because the phone lines are a little bit tricky here with calling in for you.
Well, you know what? You've got to fight the good fight. And it's always worth it, though. It's always worth it because you're here with me now. Who's calling?
Exactly. So it's Lorianne from Ontario, Canada.
Hi, Lorianne from Ontario, Canada. How are you tonight?
I'm pretty good, actually. I feel very blessed in this situation. I'm getting paid full time, unlike a lot of people. And I ordered pizza last night. And at the other end of things, I just found out yesterday my boss was exposed in his very last 2 days at work to the COVID virus in downtown Toronto. His 97-year-old aunt is in the hospital worried about it. Things could be worse for me, but me and my own, I'm pretty fortunate.
And what kind of pizza?
It was a half and half, actually. It was a half Hawaiian and just a half pepperoni and cheese.
Okay, hold on. So did you alternate? Did you eat a slice from one side and then a slice from the other?
So I had a piece of each, and then when I went to the leftovers, I did the exact same thing, a piece of each.
Yeah, that's how you do it. See, you just passed the test. There's so much to worry about. I feel so trivial by talking about this right now, but honestly, I do feel very fortunate to be Jimmy, I'm told in Canada, I'm in the 20% of getting full pay and working right now. I can't tell you, it's kind of mixed feelings, right? You feel fortunate, but you feel like, there's so many people suffering out there right now. That's right. And I know that, I feel that, I shouldn't say I know, but I feel that the governments around the world, as well as the people from around the world, know that we have to get through this. And people not only have bills to pay, but they have children to feed. There is rent. There is mortgage. All of this comes into play, and this is nobody's fault. And so this is the time where we need to take care of each other. And I really feel that is going to happen. I'm glad that you're getting a paycheck. There are so many people out there that are freaking out right now. That are freaking out, and they should be.
I have had my share of freakouts. I've lost jobs, and I have come home literally in panic attacks of how am I going to pay the mortgage? I've been there, done that. And for me to be not there now at this point has made me enlightened, if you will, to thinking, wow, I've been there 2 or 3 times in the last 3 years, and now I'm not in this. And so do I have a guardian angel of some kind that is getting me through this because I'm meant to get through this, to keep going? There's always something. There's always hope. There's always, there's always something to look to the positive? There must be, because I can't explain it otherwise.
When you think about it, I think that's a great message, and I think it's inspiration to so many. And when you go down a road in your town, in your community, where you are seeing restaurants, bars, clothing stores, retail outlets, everything shuttered and closed down, those people have jobs. Those people have families. And if you're a small business owner right now, which is the vast amount of the United States and the world, right? That's the foundation of everything. And if you're just cutting off income, and a lot of these small businesses, they run month to month. And what about, you know what I mean? It's not like they're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank and they can ride out, 6 months of no income. They have to survive just like everybody else. But this is the key thing. When you have somebody that has invested everything and every penny into a company to open it, to hire employees, and they're successful, right? And they go, but they're still running month to month, just like everybody else. That right now, with what we're doing in this country and other countries around the world, to allow businesses to go and apply for relief. You can continue to pay your employees. You can continue to pay your rent. We have told your landlords that they have to work, right? It's not like it's completely dire. Now, we have to do the work, right? We have to go and apply. We have to go and let people know that we are in this situation. Nobody's going to come to you and offer it. There's still work to do. But the resources, I think, are clearly there for everybody. And I don't think we're in a full panic mode. It could be a lot worse, for sure.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I work for a law firm, and I get paid by big industry, which are insurance companies. So I've got a full paycheck because they're all scrambling to deal with this situation for exclusionary situations. So I'm good. But I work for a very small firm who has actually just won a very good decision in court that is going to affect the world, and it will come out, and they're trying to write a paper about it. So I am very fortunate that way. But I also was married for 30 years to somebody who ran a small business, so I get it. I also have 2 teenagers. One's a university student. One who was trying to be a university student because he's too young to decide, and he took a year or 2 off, and now he got unemployed of, Cineplex, the movie theater. So there you go. They're mass layoffs, small businesses. I watch the news every day. I saw a small business owner who owned 3 businesses, a spa, a restaurant, these things, and he had to lay off 65 people. I get it, like small business to big business. Then you get the freaking big businesses who are taking advantage of, I would say at this point, they're not even taking advantage of the government grants and the money. They're taking advantage of the workers and putting them at risk, honestly. And then the workers who I've been in the situation where you need to pay your bills, you need to pay your mortgage, and now they are faced with the choice of having to go to work and face this straight on with making money to survive and not lose everything they have, what little they have, what lot they have, everything they have, versus staying at home. These people are stuck, and that's where my heart goes out, honestly. It's those people. I've been there, like I said, I've been there where I'm going to work and I have a good job and I'm getting paid and I'm freaking miserable and I don't want to go in and I'm facing, getting fired, for instance, and my mortgage is at risk, and if you lose that, you lose everything. As far as I'm concerned, you're out on the street. And these people who are doing the Walmart, the grocery stores, people who are on the front lines, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know at this point if they're doing it out of desperation or their heart. Either way, Like, what the hell? My heart goes out to them because I've been faced with choices like that, and it's not easy.
That's
Definitely
right.
Not.
No, those are the heroes right now. Those are the heroes, the cashiers, the people working. How about, I was thinking about this today. Not only Amazon delivery, how about the postal workers? And the garbage collectors that I'm talking, that we just take for granted.
Quote-unquote. Yeah, not even just like all the crazy going out to the doctors and the nurses, and I get it. And they're educated, and it's a choice, and they're on the front lines. I get it, but you're right, Jimmy. People are forgetting the people who are desperate to work and keep their jobs, like the postal workers, the garbage workers, keeping the infrastructure working. Imagine we in Toronto a few years ago, I think almost 10 years ago, I can't remember exactly, when we had all that garbage strike workers, and the whole city was disgusting. Like, that could fail tomorrow if they all decided to quit. Honestly,
yes.
The infrastructure could fail tomorrow.
Yes. And this is a point where all of us can step back and appreciate those out there that keep us sane. And I'll give you what about you left off the internet, the people that keep the phone systems running, and television. We are talking about millions of people around the world that make sure that you and I are on the phone right now, that this broadcast can happen. It just, I can't imagine.
I was going to go somewhere completely different tonight and actually ask you about whether you think that's going to go down.
No.
But I won't go there. But you're right. When people have the glitch here and there, and their sanity depends on, maybe it's just a wire in my house, or I just have to go and buy a cell phone.
Lorianne, you've got to take me off a speakerphone. You got to remember the audience is listening to this, and it's inaudible. But I'll say this. I'll say this. For anybody out there that is reading into or believing the 3 days of darkness, or this is going to happen, or that, all these conspiracy theories, do yourself a favor right now.
Forget it.
Open up the window, let in some fresh air into your dank room, walk out the front door, take a walk around the block, and breathe some fresh air and get your head clear. Okay? There's other stuff to worry about.
Well, I don't know. It's a pretty big worry, Jimmy.
No, it's not.
Like a lot of people, that's their entire, not only their job and working from home right now.
Lorianne.
The internet is crucial right now with the Zoom and meetings and job connection.
Lorianne.
I'm not talking all the entertainment.
Lorianne, the internet's not going down. Okay?
Okay, well, that's great.
It's not going down.
So back to the frontline workers then.
Listen, hold on, Lorianne. I've got all these calls on hold, so let me get to them.
Okay.
But I want you to continue.
Oh, and I didn't even mention what I really called for, which is about, sorry, Jimmy. In the 70s, remember when we all used to get the flu?
I never did, but...
You remember, like, you're about my age. I'm 49. I think you're slightly older than me, but not by much.
Mm-hmm.
But so I remember in, like, 1976, 77, I was 6 or 7 years old, and then again maybe 10 or 11, but then never again. But I had hard experiences with flu. And what made me think about this was my kids. And I was like, you guys have never had the flu, and they're 21 and 19. And I'm like, it got me thinking, well, I never thought back to the past about, what was going on maybe in those years. Let's say, if I remember correctly, 76, 77, whatever, 80, definitely not past 81. But there was a couple of times there where I had severe 105 fevers, completely feel like I was dying. My parents carrying me to a hospital like I was limp dying.
I have 2 of those memories for sure, and I don't have memories like that with my kids. So I had to put that out there in your viewership. How many people, let's say between 70s and 80s, because I do not recall this going on between 80s and 90s, 2000s. Like with my kids, they've never had a flu. I don't even know if they could survive one.
Yeah, I never got the flu.
Isn't that an interesting question?
Yeah, I never got the flu. I've also never gotten a flu shot. But my memory, and I've thought about this a lot, especially lately, I don't remember having the flu ever in my life. All right?
Not even younger?
No, never did.
Okay.
I remember in the 90s, 95, 96, I got some kind of crazy stomach thing that went on, and I couldn't hold things down for a few days. But I don't think it was the flu.
But I'm talking severe fever, like severe fever where
I don't
you
have,
almost like could not even think.
I never had that. Never had it.
Okay.
Never had it.
Well,
not
that's
me.
interesting.
And not
I know.
my kids.
I recall too. So I'd be interested in hearing about the viewers.
Yeah.
Because you have such a big audience.
Thank you so much, Lorianne.
Okay, I gotta go.
I'll talk to you. Go Beckley Teppy.
Same to you, dear.
There you go. Lorianne from Ontario, Canada. I don't remember that I have ever had the flu. Okay, I know that sounds strange, but I don't remember. I don't remember getting flu shots. Especially as an adult, I never got a flu shot. I don't think I got a flu shot when I was a kid. I don't remember. I just don't. It's not part of my life. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Yes, thank you for letting me back on, Jimmy. The speaker is off. Everything is settled. This is Malcolm in Florida. And I wanted to say that I found your guest, Mitch Horowitz, fascinating because I speculated about some elements of the quantum state myself based on my own experience. For one thing, I don't think telepathy is a thought being transmitted from one mind to another, sender-receiver, like a radio signal. I think telepathy is actually a thought that becomes apparent to 2 minds at once.
Could be. I don't have telepathy. I haven't experienced it, so I have no clue. When I hear people talk about it all the time, right, where they've communicated with an alien being, they've communicated with a ghost, and how this communication has happened without anything verbally going down, I can only use my imagination because I have never experienced it. I don't know how it goes down. I know nothing about it. We've had on so many great guests, from the Stanford Research Institute and from PEAR and these different organizations, UCLA, that have worked with telepathy and telekinesis over the years. And I can appreciate where they are coming from, but I can only do it from an inquisitive mind, somebody that's interested in the subject. I have no idea. None whatsoever. And everybody's got a different take on it and a different view of it and a different way of experiencing it and what went through their minds. Until I go through it, I don't have an opinion. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but the difference between most experiencers with phantasmagorical subjects and my experience is that I experienced it with a dolphin. And the dolphin changed her behavior towards me, as far as I can tell, in response to the thoughts, because there was no other way to convey the information to it.
Right. Again, and I hear you say it, and all I can do is apply my imagination.
Well, go ahead. I mean, it had never happened to me until it happened to me. I was rolling a joint on the sand dunes one night with a strong wind blowing. You can imagine how frustrating that is.
Right.
And suddenly it was like my hands were like crabs or something. It was like I was viewing a nature film. about this creature that was very motivated, to smoke this stuff and was putting it under impossible conditions. And then, the illusion disappeared, and I was holding a Robert Patrick Graham joint, but, smokable.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the start of our relationship on the astral.
Well, yeah, and did you go and read Mitch's article?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, wait till you.
Again?
Yeah, wait till you read that. It's a really, really good article. All of his stuff is great, but this one is very timely and 100%. I mean, it's written for the world, but this community and certainly this audience of Fade to Black, they're going to go read that, and it's just like Mitch is writing to you personally. Like, this is written just for you. It's really well done. I can't wait for you to check it out and hear your comments.
I will check it out as soon as possible. I just want to finish up briefly that the other experience, quantum experience I've had has been entanglement.
Okay, I've got 1 minute, Malcolm. We're at the end of the show. I don't know any way
to explain how I could dream a dream with so many details of where the dolphin was being kept at the time she died, because we were 3,000 miles apart. But nevertheless, I did. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's entanglement.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Malcolm, enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Good night.
Have a great night. And entanglement is the one thing, and I'm feeling guilty about all of these calls on hold. Entanglement is the one thing, if you are going to communicate across the vastness of space and galaxies and the universe, it has to be entanglement. That's the only way it can happen. And man, these calls have been waiting on hold. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello, Jimmy.
Hi.
Forsaken Rois.
Hey, Forsaken. Again. How are you?
Well, I am doing all right. I really, really enjoyed the show. It's a great Fader fam, as always. Right. Well, there's a little topic that I just want to smidge in there, and it's going to be about pizza toppings.
Go.
Isn't that wonderful? We go from entanglement to pizza toppings.
They are connected.
Right, okay.
They are connected.
Well, okay. So, as you know, I lived in England for 16 years, and so the pizza is very different over there. Their pizza toppings is tuna and sweet corn.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to bleep that out. And nobody can ever hear those words again.
And they also have, the Asian food, Indian food. They have, a chicken tikka marsala pizza. They have, all those exotic pizza toppings. But, man, the tuna and sweet corn.
No. Don't say it again. Ever.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. I've got. I literally have 60 seconds before we roll credits. Forsaken.
Man, I got the last in again.
Yeah, that's you. You dialed the phone. You got a clock. Hold on. We just wasted 30 seconds. Tell me, what are the ultimate pizza toppings?
Mushroom, pepperoni. Oh my God, what's that other meat? Yeah, Italian sausage and olives.
That's it.
Well, I like it all.
Yeah,
really,
what about, okay, and you just hit everything right there on all cylinders. What about onions?
Onions.
Yeah, pepperoni, mushroom, onion. If you cook the right pizza, that is acceptable on any table, right? Seriously. Now, black olives, icing on the cake. Italian sausage, icing on the cake. I also like, I'm going to say it right now, I like extra sauce. Yeah. Some people go extra cheese. I'm okay with that. But I like extra sauce. There you go.
I think with the extra sauce, it really depends on the amount of the toppings already, because you don't want the extra sauce to overpower.
That's right.
Like, other toppings. It's a science, man.
Yeah, pizza is a science. Pizza is a science. And we've all been eating pizza our entire lives. And when you get to a certain age where bad pizza is not acceptable. Not acceptable. It's not acceptable. You know what you like. And that's the bottom line here. And it's funny. When you're a kid, you eat a bad pizza, you can kind of roll with it. Not when you get to be an adult. Hey, Forsaken, I got to roll credits.
That is all right. And you know what, Jimmy?
What's that?
Go Beckley Tepe.
Go Beckley Tepe. Forsaken Rowith right there. Thank you, Forsaken.
Woo-hoo!
We'll see you tomorrow
You're
night.
welcome.
There you go. And go Beckley Tepe with that accent. Life is good. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I got to thank Mitch Horowitz. What a great conversation tonight. Thank you to everybody on Twitter, everybody on YouTube, everybody over at KGRA, TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and, of course, Facebook, too, as well. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camurian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, Andrea Perrin. Do not miss that show. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.